Allergies, bro. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin. I'm no light James tonight. I just realized my light isn't on. Hold on now. What is going on?
Get it together,
right.
bro.
Dude, jeez, a whiz. How's that? Better?
There we go.
All right. Yeah, but here tonight on a Friday evening to talk about all things Baltimore Ravens. We're looking forward to it. Glenn, of course, held down the ship last night. Did an excellent job. Glenn, thank you so much. Appreciate it. But I'm glad to be co-pilot with you tonight. Looking forward to it. We got some news. We got some things going on. But the first thing I just want to say off the top, unless he pops in late, unfortunately, the missile, Qadry Ismail, is not going to be joining us tonight, Glenn.
Disappointing, but, I'm sure
things happen.
Yeah, things happen. I'm sure we'll have him on in the near future, but
for sure.
Just doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight. But yeah, Jax, the People's Champ is back. Not James, me. Okay, me. Don't get it twisted, Jax. Make sure you know who the People's Champ is because it's your boy. Okay.
Just remember, Glenn's picked the Ravens to lose more than me.
I don't know about that. I need to see the numbers. I need to see the analytics. I need to see the stats. He's just making stuff up.
2 weeks ago, Glenn hopped on the show and said, I thought you were going to pick us to go 17-0. You said that about me.
I've never, nor will I ever pick against my Baltimore Ravens. But
September 19th, 2021.
Huh?
September 19th, 2021.
I don't know when that is.
Hey, he's here.
Yes.
We lied, ladies and gentlemen.
Scratch that.
Yes. All right, well, let's just bring him in here. Qadry Ismail, the one, the only, the missile.
Yep, that's fellas. There he is.
Fellas.
Yes.
So I am heading back from my facility, and so I was like, I'm just not looking all studio worthy, so I'm going to just have the avatar up there.
That is totally fine, Qadry. I'll tell you that the picture is great, first of all. Second of all, I've done multiple shows while on the road, so don't ever feel like you need to look a certain way.
That's right.
Anytime you can hop in and this is a judgment-free zone, Qadry. No, we appreciate you hopping on, man. How you doing?
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. The weather has just been outstanding. I think there's rain, no rain, but the days I've had the different charity golf events, they've been outstanding as far as the weather. So I'm one happy man.
Love it.
Nice. Good to hear. And thanks again, of course, for joining us here. I got to start somewhere that's probably going to be it's going to be close to your heart here, Qadry, because, I'm fortunate enough to coach my son's Little League baseball team. Shout out to the Lugnuts, the 9-10 Lugnuts, winners of 4 straight, by the way, 4 in a row. That's right. And I know how much pride I get seeing my son, get a single or strike a guy out or whatever the case. And really not just him, but all the kids on the team is pretty awesome to see. I can only try and imagine what you must be feeling right now, seeing Qadry follow your footsteps, become a member of the Baltimore Ravens as a wide receiver, following in your footsteps. Can you help walk us through it? Like, what's your feelings when you see him in that uniform?
Well, from just a pure dad mode aspect of it all, it brings me back. I was telling him, I was like, man, I wish we had training camp up in Westminster, because it would really kind of solidify things and be cracking me up in a sense, and have me waxing nostalgic, because there's a picture of him and his brother and sister and I, and they came up to visit Dad, and he was blocking a tackling dummy, and he got a scrape on his eye. So he had Qadry was like this little ruffian, and it just used to crack me up how he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like Dad and try to tackle things. And at the same time, there's also other times when I brought him up to either Westminster. I remember him meeting, Todd Heap, and there were times where he met Ray Rice and Joe Flacco when he first, came aboard. And But then it was hilarious because as he continued to grow, and I mean grow from a height aspect of things, my goodness, he would we'd go out to training camp and it would take on a different meaning because then he was, playing high school ball and seeing guys from a more just pure football perspective. So it's just loving it. I love the opportunity that the Ravens presented him. Nothing given, everything earned, and his mentality has been nothing but positive, hardworking, and excited for every day to get better.
Yeah, no, that's got to be exciting and absolutely thrilling. One of the things I was thinking about, and as we were preparing for the show, is I think that you might be able to provide us with the most valuable scouting report, right? Like, I don't think it gets any closer than this. So, one of the things that, of course, you read up on your son, he's got a big frame. He's got a lot of potential there physically. What's your take on him as a player? Give us the 30,000 foot view scouting report, as objective as you can be, or not. If you don't want to be, that's totally fine too. You're the dad, so it's up to you. But we'd love to know a little bit about him as a player based on your point of view.
Yeah, so I think the big thing from the analyst aspect of things, I never sugarcoated anything with him. And, I was always frank with him because I think if you can be frank with your, in this particular case, my son, I know that it's only going to help him be a better player. It's going to season him. It's going to give him an understanding of what he needs to work on, what his strengths, what his weaknesses are. So with that said, yeah, I don't sit there and try to, make it all like, he's just the greatest guy. And, I'm going to say it like it is. So here's what like it is means to me. I think from, collegiately, the resume, the pure numbers of it all, both at Villanova and at Samford, part of it was him dealing with some coaching decisions, and part of it was dealing with some like just crazy weird injuries that came about. But then ultimately what I appreciate about his resilience and his ability to overcome is that he never complained. He never threw anybody under the bus. He never put, teammates in positions where, he was just like being like a bad teammate himself. It wasn't those type of cases where I've seen other guys and players, and I'd even say some parents, act a certain way that would be toxic to, whatever team that they were on. And I can say with confidence that that just wasn't him. So, mentally, I think he learned an awful lot about the art of being resilient, knowing that when I say, it's earned, not given, I mean, it's truly earned. Like, the dude has just really been, focused in and like locked into like, all right, you've given me this challenge, I'm going to do it. Now, resume aside with that, the hardcore, like, hey, what is he? So, changed over from quarterback. I think he's a cerebral player. Obviously, as a quarterback, you got to learn so much from an offensive aspect of things. So I think he understands concepts and all that very well. He's 6'6" frame, 230. I always say he moves like he's 6'2". So what does that mean? Usually tall players have difficulty sinking their hips in and out of breaks. But I think he does an excellent job of really sinking his hips down and moving with a level of quickness for his size. At the same time, he also has a strong burst. The burst off the line, I think, is everything for a tall player. Either you got it or you don't. And I think he has it. He kind of has a eye-hand coordination, that of a Calvin Johnson, which I'm not saying that it would be, oh, you're just a dad saying that. No, I'm being purely just what I see. He's made plays like that. I think he has that capability in him. I think he has a toughness of a big size Brandon Marshall type of a player also. I think he has a really strong catch radius with that Brandon Marshall, don't F with me kind of a vibe when he plays. At the same time, I think he can play both in the slot as well as on the outside. But it remains to be seen how he adapts to the pro game when it comes to, going on the outside. I think he has, that capability to really be strong with his routes to gain separation, and then obviously his big body to, put him between the defender and the ball. Yeah, I think those are some of the things that I'm seeing with him so far.
And Q is still a 6'6", 230-pound frame. Is there any chance of positional versatility? Maybe we can see him get some work in transition to tight end?
Yeah, so again, when we spoke with the Ravens, spoke with some other teams as well, but primarily, the Ravens, I was like, don't look at us as like we're trying to be picky. we don't care. We want to play football. And I think part of, again, the positive nature of his mindset and the non-toxic, don't blame others. It is what it is from a leverage aspect of things. If you're asking us the more you can do type of a thing, then heck yeah, I think he's more than capable. And it's crazy too, because he's not, some guys are finesse type big guys. He's not that. I was like, you got like a little badass in you. He goes, yeah, man, I don't mind hemming somebody up. And so that, just because he's a quarterback or a former quarterback, he doesn't have that, kind of, hey, don't touch me mentality. He's like, all right, bet. We got to block. Special teams, when he was down in Sanford, he did, punt return. He did, kickoff return. He's not afraid to block. He's not afraid to get in the mix. So I think from that aspect of things, yeah, if he is the F position, then sure, like, let's do it. There's a physicality to his game. F, X, or, Y, it doesn't matter. Either or all three, it doesn't matter.
That's super exciting. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Ravens. I think there's true and objective upside to him as a prospect, just based on your assessment. And you look at him from the outside in, I think it's a rare mix of, speed, physicality, coordination, and size. And that alone is exciting outside of who he is as a player and as a person. So that's getting me really excited. And I hope things, work out, because I tell you what, Qadry, for years, basically since Anquan Bolden, Glenn has been pounding his fists at the pulpit, begging for a guy that can go high point the football. Begging. And look, if we got a guy like that, that would be absolutely amazing. We're looking forward to it. But I did have a couple other questions for you regarding this offense as a whole and this team as a whole. And really, one of them is for me is around Derrick Henry. I know everyone was excited when that happened and was looking forward to it. And they've done some things in the draft to kind of address the questions of the offensive line in front of him. But what do you see his impact being on this team and his role in this offense in the upcoming season? And before you answer, the reason I think this is really intriguing is because for us, we were talking about as soon as he signed, there's no way Derrick Henry is standing on the sidelines in the AFC Championship game and getting 3-4 touches, in my opinion, right? Like, he's just that much of a presence, that much of a force, that much of a player, where I feel like it almost forces you to get him the ball, to a certain degree. But what do you see him being here in Baltimore as a player?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because we've had the running back by committee for a couple of seasons now. I think now is where you can see a Derrick Henry. It would be 1 and Derrick Henry 1A, and then there's the rest. So everybody else, everybody was like 1A, 1C, 1B, that sort of thing. It was just a group. And I think Derrick Henry's resume and what he's done has shown that, I'm a bell cow. Like, what's up? Now, I don't want the 30 carry, 25 carry, 22 carry type of a Derrick Henry. I want the 15 to 20, type Derrick Henry, because when it does come to the divisional round or the AFC Championship game, now, oh yeah, fresh legs, I'm about to whoop up on you type of a thing. And I got so many change of pace backs that have gotten good experience, the Justice Hills, the Keaton Mitchells of the world, and possibly, I forget the young man who's on the roster now who can potentially do some damage depending upon how he takes to the offense. But, Keaton and Justice, I think, are just such strong complements that it is that case where am I going to put in my big personnel? And if I do, then what does that look like as far as Todd Monken calling plays to the outside guys, as well as the tight end group? Or is it a situation where I'm going to just suck it up, keep Big Nickel in, and if I keep Big Nickel in and 22's out there, and now I got Thunder and Lightning, Thunder being Derrick Henry, Lightning being Lamar, and Lamar is a lot more lighter in his weight, so he's going to really be lightning. So now you're just putting yourself in a pickle, and it's just a matter of, is the offensive line going to be up to speed and gelling together to make this all happen?
Yeah, and I'm glad you went there, because that's really my question. I think that was the biggest question mark heading into this offseason when the coaches and the front office mentioned that this is an offensive line rebuild. This isn't a they didn't go into this saying this was a simple patch one spot. They called it a rebuild. So what's your take on that rebuild, Q? Do you feel like they did enough to ensure that there's a championship level offensive line in front of Lamar and Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I think so. Time will tell, because the new offseason rules that have been in place for a while. You really the evaluation of a D-line, O-line is a lot different. You're just not, you can't have the physical play. So, it's a matter of, you got to be so locked in with your technique. You got to be so communicative. And I think that's where training camp, you're going to be forged in the fire. I'm liking the fact that they're going to have a joint practice with Green Bay. Perhaps they'll have one with Philly, who knows? But the point is that there are going to be opportunities for them to get on the same page and to have some physicality for themselves. I think that's going to be super important. I can't emphasize that enough. Their training camp for the offensive line last year was, the receiving core, learning, Tom Monken's offense, all that. This year, so goes the offensive line and them gelling together. So goes this offense.
I hope you're right. I know that we're excited about Rosengarten, of course, the right tackle that we drafted. We had a guy that had been following him since high school come on the show, and he said he believes he can be Quentin Nelson. Quentin is his first name, right? The Colts guard. Yeah, Quentin Nelson type player, being at right tackle, which is really encouraging, of course, to hear. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, you kind of mentioned this. Everyone is watching the scale with bated breath when they talk about Lamar Jackson and his weight, which, Q off the top, I think is really stupid. But what's your take on this whole thing? Everyone's talking about, the weight, and they're all concerned about the fact that he's 205 or whatever he is at this point. I have zero concern. Where are you at this point with Lamar's weight? Do you not care? Do you have an opinion? What's your take?
Yeah, here's the crazy thing about it. From a bigger picture aspect of it all, this what was it? When he decided to, what was it 2 seasons ago, jump up to 230? When that happened, that's when I was first introduced to the Lamarites, because I was like, I simply made on Twitter X like, hey, he needs to be careful. Hopefully his trainer won't, ruin his movement brilliance. And the Lamarites came out of nowhere, and they just was like, what do you know? What about this? What about that? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bruh, y'all got to be the dumbest fan base Lamarite people having this that I've ever met in my entire existence, because I'm not talking out my butt. I've seen so much football. I am a freaking sports performance movement specialist. This is what I do, you dummy. And so when his season came and went, obviously last season as well, it is no surprise to me that he felt like, there's something to being lighter and explosive, because that's who he is. He's a gosh doggone dynamic, unbelievable, generational talent. You just can't contain him. He can only contain himself. And I think part of him containing himself is, that added extra muscle. Now, tendons can store that elastic energy and give you that explosiveness. And as long as your tendon and ligament strength is on point and the muscle is proportional, man, you're just going to be dynamic, and you're going to be able to be elusive and protect yourself. So, yeah, I kind of smiled, and I was like, yeah, Lamar validated me and what I had been saying from the very beginning. But hopefully, it works out where he can just continue to be that strong, powerful, explosive guy that we came to know as a two-time league MVP.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Zero concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Q is not concerned. I'm not concerned.
If anything, it sounds like Q is rooting for the lower weight and get a little bit leaner, increase some flexibility, and hopefully the speed as well. But Q, I got to ask you about your top specialty. We're talking about the pass catching group, and I found it interesting in the offseason because it's essentially the same group. I mean, outside of really just Odell Beckham Jr. is gone. Of course, Tez Walker comes in from North Carolina, and that's the major change in the room. Of course, they did lose a couple other guys, Duvernay being one of them, but 6 of the top 7 are back. So it's funny when I see fans react and they say, oh, they don't have any receivers, they're backed it, when really they just lost one and replaced him with a rookie, so we don't know what we're getting yet. But what's your thoughts on this pass catching group when you include the tight ends, of course, in that group? Do you think that this is a championship level pass catching group?
Yes, I do. I think what Zay learned last year from Odell, I think what he experienced from his successes, I think what Bateman now feels like the offseason is for pay, the season is for play, and the fact that they paid him, there's and obviously I know, yes, market value, blah, 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 all that. I'm not talking about that. Fact of the matter is, that's one less thing he has to worry about for this season. Now, he can they like me. They really like me. Let me go out there and do what I do. And with that, I think comes the ability to get him the football, to continue to allow Zay to be Zay. I think Nelly is just the vet that you need, and then it's just up to Tez to grow. The game planning for Tez is not going. When Eric DeCosta talks about him being like Torrey Smith, I remember clearly Torrey's coming out party was St. Louis. At St. Louis, we're doing a game, and you could see where they had single high safety, and Anquan was getting all the attention. And Torrey, all he had to do is just do some big post routes. And I'm not saying all he had to do, but that was how he did. He did it well, and he had a monster game. Then you see where they would have him in, and they would have two tight ends. Heck, they would even have Vontae Leach in there, and it was like you would think it was big package, which gave the look of a dominant run. He would have a tight split, safety in the box, everybody in the box, and boom, Torrey just go over the top. And of course, Joe was throwing it down the football field. That's young Torrey Smith, and I think that could be young Tez Walker. But I really am intrigued with the tight end play when it comes to, you got just Isaiah Likely and obviously Andrews, both guys just, hey, I bet, Andrews is Andrews, but, you got Isaiah now kind of having a little bit of more swagger and confidence because he's done it. And he's done it when all eyes were on him on the grand stage. I think his, I can do this came in Jacksonville when he's making just clutch play after clutch play. So ultimately, people are going to have those little ounces of doubt. But I think this training camp preseason, and again, hopefully they'll have more joint practices. But I'm anxiously away. Like, in other words, the Eagles, if they had a joint practice with the Eagles, that would be so much fun because they struggled last year from a secondary aspect of things, and they just drafted like crazy to bolster their group. So could you imagine, the likes of us and other podcasters all descending down on that joint practice? We would care less about, well, maybe we would look at probably, the Eagles D-line and our O-line a little bit because they got a stud, defensive front. But we would be like, all eyes are glued in on their DBs versus our receivers doing one-on-one or 7-on-7. And we would be reporting it like crazy because I think that would be the telltale sign of whether or not, do the Ravens need to bring in another veteran guy? I don't see it. And yet let the Ravens youngins prove themselves. And I think that they will.
Yeah. So quick follow for you to the wide receiver group.
Jimmy.
Did Zay surprise you at all last year? Were you pleasantly surprised by how quickly he made an impact?
Was Zay Flowers?
Yes.
Was I surprised?
Yes.
No. Why? Because I think between OBJ and Nelly and Ty Monken just like giving him what he does best, which is get the ball to him, whether it be at, behind, or just past the line of scrimmage. And so, yeah, he kind of did his thing in that regards. He grew a little bit more with some intermediate routes. And then I think, there was like a small dry period, but then he kind of, took off again. Mm-hmm. Is there some kind of insider like y'all just didn't like something that he did or didn't do, or?
No. Go ahead, Jimmy. No.
Qadry, I'm going to tell you this in all good fun. I don't know if you remember when you came on with us live at Ellie's, but I said Zay was going to be our wide receiver 1 halfway through the season, I think I said. And you laughed at me pretty hard.
Yeah, I did. I absolutely did. And I laughed because I felt like Odell, had he not gotten kind of those weird injuries, would have been receiver 1.
Yeah, I can see that.
Bateman, yeah, and I think Bateman, if he didn't get knocked down a notch from training camp, like if he had just been able to just come out of the gate, I think we would have seen Zay as more of a complimentary guy, don't necessarily put pressure on him. So that's where I was like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, injuries force you to have to grow up real quick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, it was at and or behind or just past the line of scrimmage that he was, getting the ball in his hands. So there's like this, I'm snatching the ball. But also you saw where the Pittsburgh game, like, unfortunately, he had a rookie type of a moment, like where he was just dropping things. And that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, that's to kind of be expected from a rookie aspect, that you kind of like, I don't want him to have that pressure on him as a coordinator, but yet, you kind of get back into the groove of like, all right, who do we got? And the next thing you know, well, we got to change it up. Why do we got to change it up? Because, Odell went down, he's kind of banged up too. And all right, let's go ahead and we got to do what we got to do with Zay. So he had to grow, and it was trial by fire.
Yeah. No, I also think there's a lot I'll say about it, but I think that I think Monken fell in love with who Zay was as a player, as far as like, getting in the lab and drawing up plays for him and stuff like that. I think he was one of those guys. He was like, oh, I can do so many things with him, that just provided Zay more opportunities to simply get the ball. I think that there was some of that too. Obviously all those things as well, like you mentioned, but I know I'm certainly not alone, and everyone else on the show agrees with me that we're all super excited to see what Zay does in year 2.
Mhm.
I'm sure you are as well. Really looking forward to him and Lamar continuing to vibe and connect and build that chemistry. But no, I appreciate you going down memory lane with me there.
I tell you what, it's interesting because, there are times where you can be the number one. And as I reflect back, he was more not necessarily number one, but more featured. And so you're like, okay, but you're splitting hairs. Maybe I am. You could probably say that. But I think the way the offense ran, he was more complimentary to, say, Mark, before Mark went down. He was more complimentary when it came to the combination of Odell and, even though Bateman, if they would have connected, my God, man, it would have been a different story. Like, there's been like 4 or 5 deep ball opportunities that, outside of the Pittsburgh game, where both Bateman and Zay just, crapped the bed. I think outside of that, them dudes, like, Bate was creating separation. He was like, yo, like, I'm him. I'm doing my thing. So, yeah, I mean, you got to credit Zay for being ready. That's not, I don't really care. Shoot. Oh well, I'm wrong, because that means Zay was focused in the meeting room and focused in on his assignments. And when it came to competing, when the ball was his way, he was making plays. So, darn, I'm wrong. Yay, me.
I love it. Nothing like being wrong and it being the best absolute outcome, right? Like, that's the best.
Absolutely.
That's a win-win. Now, Q, as a former player, the biggest thing that came out of OTAs, in my opinion, was the participation of a lot of veterans who certainly don't need OTAs, guys like Roquan and even Lamar to a degree. As a former player, do you glean anything out of that level of participation, particularly of high-priced veterans that didn't necessarily have to come, but decided they wanted to come out here and participate in OTAs?
Yeah, I think it was cool. I think, the team culture of winning starts with just that, having a team to kind of like, yo, here's what we're all about. Let's do this together. It helps young players. I know, Qadry was like, oh, that was cool. I guess, the locker room of seeing Derrick Henry and, Roquan, chop it up and talk about, different strategies, as a young player, he ain't going to get that if Roquan and Derrick Henry aren't there. So now he's like, all right, well, these are some stud dudes. Like, wow, they're that's cool. Seeing how, the veterans practice, seeing how they take their job seriously. I think that fosters, because you're going to need everybody. That's just the bottom line. You're going to need everybody. And if you got everybody there, it sets the tone of how you want people to work. Will everybody be there for all of OTAs? Well, it's voluntary, so no. And that's their right as a veteran. But I think it definitely helped to set the tone off on the right, track with so many guys there, especially in the first week of it.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think it's always an awesome opportunity to, like you said, for the young guys to get around and really set the tone. But we want to switch over to the other side of the ball here. At least I do, unless, Glenn, you have a follow-up.
Well, I mean, I do have one last question about the offense. Everybody says next step. This offense needs to take the next step. I heard that from Todd. I heard that from a couple offensive guys. What, as a former wide receiver one, Super Bowl champ, and, a great offensive player, what does the next step for this offense look like in your opinion?
Yeah, next step is when you own the offense and the coordinator. It's no longer just the coordinator's offense. It's your offense. That's next step.
Oh, dang, we lost him. Oh no, we lost him. We lost Q. Jimmy, I blame you.
Wait a second.
No, I blame you and I blame DK.
No, I blame you two.
No,
I blame you two.
You
had
to bring it up.
Nope, you two.
You couldn't have stuck to the dock.
Nope, it's you two.
There we go. All right, Q's back. Let's see. Can you?
Man,
there we go.
I started talking about next steps, and the next thing I was like, no, we're not going to talk about next steps. We're like, screw next steps. We don't need next steps. Shh, quiet.
Go ahead, though. Yeah,
next steps basically is when the team itself owns the offense. I remember playing with Peyton Manning, and you knew you were in a groove when it was like he could just go to the line. He would hear a call from the sideline, and he'd be like, nah, we're going to change it. And he would change it to a different call that was a better call for us. And that's us as a team owning it, going to the sideline and talking about different routes and different, coverages that they're presenting and what we can do to win. That's owning it. It's a cool thing taking that next step. It's like, there are certain calls or certain plays that were called that you really didn't fully know. You heard it throughout the year, sure. But now there's all, oh yeah, I know that. And when the coach is teaching it, he's not just using some film of some other team. He's actually using film of you when you're in there and last season. And so it makes like the connection of ownership stronger. And that's, you don't want to think. You just want to react. You just want to know. You just want to do. There's been there were a couple of times where, you heard it with Odell when he was saying, yeah, I'm thankful that, whatever, I caught that route. I should have scored or I should have made it easier, but, I ran the wrong route. And that's because, collectively there was not that full-on ownership. I think if you get a full-on ownership of knowing, the plays and how you can gel together conceptually, that's taking the next step.
I sure hope you're right. I'm looking forward to that as well. Glenn, what do you got?
Yeah, so on the defensive side of the ball, I know a lot of fans credited the success of defense with the now Seattle Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald. And some are saying that the combination of losing not just him, but also Patrick Queen and Jadeveon Clowney and some other important veterans that were pretty key to the team's success, or the defense's success. They say there's no chance this defense is going to be as good as it was last year. With Zach Orr now as the DC, and they did replace those guys with, in some cases, some young talent. What's your take? Can this defense be as good as it was last season, or at the very least good enough to, get this team where it wants to go?
Yeah, again, you talk about ownership and all that. One of the things that I thought, Zach had mentioned, he's like, man, this defense has been around. We have had so many guys put their own stamp on it. And yet, the calls and everything, it's the same things. It's just guys putting their own stamp on it. Mike McDonald was just as aggressive as Wink Martindale. It's just that he didn't all-out blitz all the time. He would actually, I think he used his secondary guys to come down in the box and be aggressive off the edge way more than what Wink would do. Wink would just all-out blitz you and have no help necessarily in the back end. And so that was Wink, but that's Mike McDonald. That was his slant on things. I think that Zach Orr, he had the advantage as a player. He had the advantage of, being with Wink, being with Mike McDonald. He had all those advantages. Yeah, now he has to. It was funny. He was like, yeah, the difference is if we make a big play, I'm celebrating and hooping and hollering with my boys. But now I'm the coordinator. I got to remember, shoot, I hoop and holler. Okay, we need the next call. So you don't have time to necessarily celebrate. So that's going to be a big difference. Those are little things that I'm sure he'll learn and adapt to.
I'm excited for him, and every time I listen to him talk, I just get more and more confident in his ability to, not only fill the shoes but really excel in the role. Like you said, I mean, the defense has been here for a long time, and he, just like a lot of these guys that are coming from the coaching staff, but him certainly a bit uniquely, he bleeds, Ravens DNA, all right, Ravens blood. He's a Raven. Like, that's just the culture is instilled in him. So we're really looking forward to that. Q, it is late on a Friday evening, and we are grateful for your time. Thank you so much. We hope to have you on again soon. Please tell your son that we are wishing him the best.
Yes.
And we're going to be out there at training camp, of course. And we're really looking forward to seeing him go out there and ball out, turn some heads. We had a Samford guy make this team undrafted not too long ago in the distant past.
There's also already one of your former teammates' son on the team, Keaton Mitchell.
Yes.
And so let's make it two, Q. Let's
right.
make it
Let's
two.
go.
I'm hearing you. I'm liking the positivity. I think again, he's excited. He definitely loves the art of playing and doing his thing. I think at the same time, from a bigger picture standpoint, what I appreciate about the Ravens, like you said with Keaton, is like, yeah, we want you to succeed. We're going to put you in the best position to succeed. So we're going to be all there for you. Now just go out there and do it. And so I think it'll be fun to see, how he goes through these OTAs, goes into training camp, and then see what happens from there.
Let's go. Let's go. That's awesome, man. Good luck to him. Thank you so much, Q. We greatly appreciate your time this evening. We know you got a million things to do. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thanks so much for having me on, as always.
Yep.
Thanks, Q. Take care, man. Yeah, man. It's always nice to have Q on talking. Dude. But,
love it.
You didn't have to. You almost messed up, Jimbo.
I
You almost messed up. Had to bring up the receipts. You could have let it go. Stuck to the dock.
No, I did nothing wrong, and you will never make me think otherwise. No, I love Q, and I appreciate his time.
Yeah,
that was awesome,
yes.
dude. I'm really looking forward to the potential of his son being able to, really show out and do some things.
I think he's got some real chance to be on the practice squad, and who knows, the potential to switch to tight end in this league.
Yep.
6'6", 6'7" is what he was listed at Samford.
He's a whiz.
I mean, so I got a feeling he's a hair over 6'6", and let's see what he can do. Asmodeus, appreciate your continued support and generosity. Yes, Jimmy's back.
Hello.
Also, Qadry. Congrats on your son joining the Ravens for your chicken breasts and asparagus needs. Yes, let's keep things healthier. I like it. He's not just Taco Bell, Mickey D's. No, this guy will get you your veggies as well. So appreciate it. But I also saw another one earlier. I don't want to forget that the NBA one too. But Don C says, "Happy Memorial Day, guys. Sunblock the kids, Jimmy." I don't think Q apologized. No, the heck he did not.
Standing on 10 toes, and that's all right.
I love it. I love it,
man.
dude. I love how he put the comment in the private chat just to show us
that he's reading the private chat.
I love this guy, dude. I love this guy. But yeah, that was absolutely hilarious. And then Jimmy Ravens O's Nation says, random question: who makes the NBA Finals?
Ooh.
I mean, I think it's pretty. The East is looking but
Boston,
done.
Yeah. The real question with Boston is, when is Kristaps back and what will he look like for the finals? I mean, that's really what it's about.
Yep.
On the other side, I think ultimately the Timberwolves are going to be throughout an entire series. I think they're a little too much for the Mavs.
Too much, huh?
Okay. I think they're too athletic. I think they're too young, too physical. I just think I could be totally wrong. At the end of the day, for me, the X factor is Kyrie. As good as Luka is, Kyrie is the veteran. He's the one that's been there. He
hits the big shots.
That's what I'm saying. So Kyrie to me is the X factor, but
yeah. And Edwards screwed up, dude.
Yeah.
He said I got Kyrie, and Kyrie heard that at home. He said he was just sitting at home minding his business, and he saw Ant Edwards say, "Don't worry, I got Kyrie," and he heard that. He heard him say it, Jimbo.
Why do you do that? I guess if you're the best, if you think you're the best, you say whatever you want. But I
mean, was gassed at the end of the game trying to guard Kyrie, dude. He wasn't.
Why chase him around, dude?
He was gassed, bro.
You know what I mean? It's like trying to catch a Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah,
don't do it.
Here?
It ain't going to be easy, but appreciate the generosity, Ravens O's Nation. Jimbo, one last question I have for you. Matthew Judon has been linked to the Ravens as a possible trade target.
Yeah.
Looks like it wouldn't cost much more than a few or maybe even a couple late-round draft picks. Had some injuries last year, only played in 4 games, but did have 4 sacks in just 4 games. And previous to that, yeah, exactly. And previous to that, he had played in 17 games in 2022, had 15 and a half sacks. He had 17 games played in 2021, 12 and a half sacks. So this is a guy who's been incredibly reliable and dependable through the majority of his career outside of last year. So would you welcome a Matthew Judon return to Baltimore?
100%. 100%. Judon is a Raven. For lack of better terms, he spent some time in New England, but he's a Raven. He's got swag. He bring leadership to that team. He's a productive player. He's generally a healthy player. I have zero concern. Bring him back, because I have 100% concern about our edge group. I mean, you're talking about Kyle Van Noy leading this group. No offense to Kyle Van Noy.
Well, Adafe's there.
Really? You're not concerned about Adafe leading your group of edge rushers?
This is the year for Adafe. We need to make a bet on Adafe. You need to tell me a number that you're
9.
That's that. So 8.5. So
zero chance of getting 9 sacks.
I'm gonna come up with something. I'm gonna put the over under.
He has very little chance at getting 11 games. It's just what it is.
And like Tank says, KVN balled out.
He did, but that was with he had Clowney over there. I'm just saying that he needs a running mate. He's a vet. Bring Judon back, dude. He would be the best in that room day one. Anybody wants to argue me up? At me. 410 Sports Talk, because I don't have a Twitter yet.
No, but the guy, crazy high motor, great with the microphone.
Yeah.
The Ravens would love to put him in front, behind the podium every week.
Him and Jameson can hang out again.
Yeah, now that might be a little bit of an issue there, but yeah, I think it all makes too much sense. The only question is, can they fit his salary under the cap, and is that too big of a hurdle? Right. We'll have to wait and see there. But eat the microphone cover. Let's bring it back. 8.5 over under. I say over. I say he gets to double-digit sacks this year. And not just 10. I'm talking cool dozen. Cool dozen. All right.
You're fooling other people, but I know you don't believe that.
Yeah, cool dozen, bruh. Cool dozen.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah. I think you agree with me, though. Bring Judon back.
Oh, I would love to have Judon back. It'd be awesome.
No, for sure.
He was
All
fun.
right, guys. Well, I think that's it for us tonight. We appreciate the time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Friday night. Like I said to Qadry, all of you have a great Memorial Day weekend. Get the grills out or whatever you do. Enjoy the weather. Get outside. Get some vitamin D and hang out with the family. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.